Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Sam. Good afternoon. I guess we can wait a little bit, maybe two more minutes until we have people join the webinar. And I just like to let everyone know that we should also be live on LinkedIn right now.
Yes.
So let's wait 2 more minutes, and then we can start this session.
That's good. Like, are you able to tell when people join through LinkedIn as well?
We are trying to check that. So we are also live on LinkedIn. Everyone who's viewing us on LinkedIn, you can definitely post your questions on LinkedIn as well as or any comments on LinkedIn, and then we will address them during this session.
That's good.
Perfect. Okay, I think we should start.
Yes. Let's begin, I think.
Perfect. Once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Cyberways in collaboration with Exit Quantum. My name is Fatima Buenaventura, and I'm thrilled to be your host for today's session. So, at Cyberways, we help organizations in the MENA region to elevate their cybersecurity postures through strategic consulting, technical enablement, and partnerships with global technology and innovators. And today we're diving into a topic that's rapidly gaining momentum across compliance teams and security leaders alike, which is the quantum ready compliance. So as quantum computing edges closer to practical reality, organizations are being challenged to rethink their approach to encryption, agility, and auditability. How do you prepare for your compliance frameworks for a post-quantum future without falling into a trap of a hype? To answer that, we brought one of the leading voices in this space. And joining us today is Samuel, founder and CEO of Exec Quantum, a company at the forefront of post quantum cryptography and secure data infrastructure. Sam brings a wealth of experience and sharp clarity on what the next era of cybersecurity and compliance should look like. His talk today, titled Quantum Ready Compliance Navigating Agility and Auditability in Post Quantum Era, will provide actionable insights into how to future proof your security strategy in alignment with evolving compliance requirements. Sam, it's a pleasure to have you with us. The virtual stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and I'm looking forward to sharing how you can stay compliant in the quantum era and how Exit Quantum can essentially help you with that. So, first of all, to kind of elaborate a bit of what I mean by compliance, of course, there are multiple levels when it comes to compliance, and based on different clientele, based on different sectors, you have to comply with different certifications. So, for example, for healthcare, there is HIPAA. For say for money, there is PCI DSS, etc., etc. And a lot of them include a requirement to encrypt your data, be it end-to-end encryption, meaning when your data goes out, like either your or your client's data goes out from the server to the client or vice versa, or when it's at rest, as in like while it's stored in the database, not doing anything essentially. Encrypted data is essentially when you garble up data and make sure that it cannot be read by anyone who it is not intended to. However, uh, in order to actually encrypt the data, nowadays computers are extremely powerful, even without quantum computers, and can essentially decrypt many types of encryption that we will try to do manually. Like if, for example, we try to just change the letters up a bit, the computers can easily find the pattern that they need to break that encryption. So therefore, we needed to create increasingly sophisticated computer algorithms that can encrypt data and prevent it from being read even by a strong computer. We have found the, so to speak, golden standard of encryption, which are two algorithms called RSA and elliptic curve that are used today to secure around 90% of all data that is going out over the internet today, including bank accounts, emails, everything. However, we kind of got unlucky. Recently, somewhat recently, we have discovered that quantum computers will actually be able to break said encryption. So in the upcoming decade or so, those algorithms are now going to be outdated, meaning that what's currently securing the vast majority of our internet is going to be broken. And I'll go a bit into it a bit deeper, maybe in my next presentation. I'm sure some people have already heard about it, that quantum computers are going to break our encryption today. However, the threat is actually going even a bit deeper than that. So quantum computers are going to be able to break our asymmetric cryptography, so to speak. So, for example, when you send an email, when you send a WhatsApp message, when you pay with your bank account, that information goes over the internet and requires asymmetric cryptography to protect it. However, for example, for data that's currently at rest, meaning it's in the database, hasn't been shared in the internet, it utilizes what's called symmetric cryptography. It utilizes the same key to encrypt and decrypt, and is actually not threatened by quantum computers. However, according to some CSIRO scientists I've interviewed, AI differential attacks might actually be able to break our symmetric keys as well, which actually circumvents post-quantum cryptography as a whole. So what can we do about all that? Obviously, new types of algorithms have been created, quantum-resistant algorithms that can withstand quantum computers, AI, etc., like different algorithms to generate the keys or asymmetric cryptography. However, sadly, it's also not as simple because, for example, one of the latest algorithms that have been adopted somewhat widely in response to quantum computers is lattice-based cryptography, which now actually is in danger of breaking as well. So with all those technologies that are coming, like quantum computers, AI, increasing optimization efficiency, what does it mean to everyone, like especially for critical infrastructure? Well, it means that essentially from the power grid to SCADA system to customer data and encryption, if any of those things break, I think it's quite hard to encapsulate just how much of a tricky situation that would be for anyone. Essentially, having all your data exposed or having the grid integrity broken can have absolutely catastrophic effects. So the question is, like, for example, what can actually be done about that with all those emerging technologies? Well, thankfully, AI and quantum, while they are able to break our current encryption, they can also actually be used to help us with countering those threats. So, for example, Quantum is offering AI-powered auditing that can scan your code and detect quantum vulnerabilities in real time, and then in the future, hopefully, implement quantum-safe solutions. We also utilize multiple different types of cryptography. So, as I mentioned, lattice-based cryptography, which has been the current response to post-quantum, like current go-to for post-quantum cryptography, is now at risk. So 2 weeks in, we have adopted code-based cryptography, which is not known to be breakable by quantum computers either, keeping it NIST aligned. And NIST aligned is kind of the key word here. NIST has recently released the standards for what the encryption algorithms are considered quantum secure and can be safely adopted by governments. by governments, organizations, enterprises, you name it. And our algorithms that we offer are aligned with their guidelines to ensure you stay compliant with the NIST guidelines or any other guidelines, because after NIST has adopted said guidelines, generally other countries, like including the European Union, Middle East, and Australia, have also adopted those same standards, or sometimes even higher, but same algorithms. Quantum actually is also able to help us with creating stronger keys. So a quantum powered computer is significantly better at generating truly random numbers, meaning that those keys that are generated, I've mentioned before how AI can break into symmetric keys. A quantum powered symmetric key is significantly harder to break. Now, we are an API driven solution, which means that once it's integrated into your infrastructure, then the API can be updated seamlessly. The backend of the API can be updated without any changes needed for the front end. So if, for example, the algorithm that is currently used breaks, there is no change needed on the front end. It's a lot easier to stay compliant with the encryption standards by just migrating the backend while keeping the front end intact. One of the main tools that are extremely important for the quantum safe migration is what's called a cryptographic discovery tool. We are talking about auditability. I think that the future is automated auditing. At the end of the day, threats are constantly evolving very rapidly. I talked about lattice-based cryptography being at risk. It wasn't considered at risk around maybe like around 8 months ago when it was selected and standardized. Just a few months in, there was already a threat. AI is advancing extremely quickly. We have to adapt as well. What are exactly the steps to becoming quantum ready from a compliance standard? First of all, of course, you need to do the discovery and mapping. As mentioned, you need to scan your code bases, your APIs, your third parties, because just because you have adopted post-quantum locally does not mean that your third parties that you're using did, which means that you have to look into them as well, because this might affect your compliance as well. After that, you need to create a roadmap. The migration to post-quantum is not easy. It's a very complex journey. Even though we like Exequantum makes it a lot easier, and a lot of vendors that do, there is no hiding the fact that it is a complex journey. And therefore, you need to actually prioritize what data you want to secure first versus what can wait. Like, for example, I can imagine that a banking information would be more secure than, say, a blog post. After that is all done and you're ready to start the implementation, one thing you could potentially do is use our APIs to integrate the post-quantum cryptography into your code without needing to learn cryptography, this new type of cryptography, or hire any cryptographers. It's very important to implement it correctly. So you might need to you need to make sure that the people know what they're doing. But it's going to require significantly less resources and it's a lot less prone to risk. Now, I mentioned third parties, like, for example, the TLS service that you're using very likely is not quantum secure. However, there are TLS services out there that have adopted post-quantum cryptography, such as Cloudflare and Google. And if you, for example, see that your TLS is not quantum secure, then that's something to look into. For now, when we are talking about compliance with encryption, another thing that is usually enforced is key rotation, meaning that once you create a key for like encryption, like it's kind of like, think of your password. You have to change your password somewhat frequently. It's not considered best practice to never change it. So same with your keys. The tools that we provide actually help you monitor the keys and ensuring that you rotate them easily and automatically. And of course, ISO, FIPS, and other compliance requirements are slowly looking into post-quantum cryptography as a requirement. The general deadline for governments is 2030, but it's very possible the certifications out there will have um, sooner, like shorter deadlines comparatively. So one advantage of, for example, using XA is that we cover the whole area. We cover the cryptographic discovery, we cover the implementation, and then also the automated updates and making sure that you stay on top of things and for the long term. And that's all done through simple, easy, relatively easy integrations. We're also, of course, working on AI-powered risk insights that will continuously monitor code-based, your tools and other things. And we're also partnering up with Cyberways to create a nice, easy, easy to access dashboard that returns the result of said automated auditing, and ensuring and comparing and contrasting your PQC implementation or integration with other types of standards out there, including ISO, GDPR, you name it. Yes, I think we are kind of running out of time. I want to do the demo, but yeah, as mentioned, once the API is integrated, it can be automatically updated, and the AI agent can essentially fix all your security problems. Well, I think that's it for the presentation. Should I move to the demo, or should there be like some quick questions?
Yes, I think there might be some questions later, but I think you can move on to your to the demo. Maybe we can have a quick demo of what is Exit Quantum, and then we can move on to the questions from the audiences. Maybe there will be more questions when they see the product.
Sounds good. So what I'm going to show is actually the API in process. So it's going to have a little bit of code, but bear with me, because the point is it's going to have a very short code, which will indicate to you just how simpler it is to integrate the post-quantum algorithm through the API-driven methodology compared to, say, implementing them completely in-house. So let's see if I can share my screen. You think it?
Yes, we are seeing the screen now.
Okay, so don't read into it too much, but essentially, we generate the keys for you through the simple command. You then generate a shared secret with the second command, and then generate the second key with a third command. Essentially, what we are doing, what is being done here is a three-step process. As I mentioned, when data goes over the internet, like for example, if for example I send Fatima a message, we need to make sure that we both have a key so that we can actually secure the message, that I can secure the message from my end, like I can lock it in a box. And then we need to make sure that she also has a key so that she can actually open that box. Because if she can't, then me securing the message in a box is kind of pointless. And then essentially, that key can be utilized to encrypt this message. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to encrypt the message using one of the keys and then decrypt it using the other key. So you're going to see the message encrypted and then the message back, decrypted back to the original message. And yeah, let's just. So first of all, we saw the first key was equal to the second key. That is true. It was successful. That I got the first key and Fatima got the second key, and they're both equal. The exchange was successful. Now we encrypted this message. If you see this gibberish here, that's actually the message here. Now imagine, like, if it was a very sensitive message, like, your bank details, like, if, for example, I put now, let's just say it's my credit card number. I'm not actually going to do it, if that's okay. Try it again. As you can see, it garbles it up so that nobody else can read it. But then when it comes to the other side, who already has the same key, they can decrypt it and get it back, so that only the correct parties can read it and no eavesdroppers can read it. And as you can see, that's been done. Even if we look a bit into the actual code, it's around 50 lines of code, significantly simpler. And then as I mentioned, if the algorithm needs to be updated, this code doesn't change. It all happens through here, through this line, and that's it. And yeah, very, very quick demo, kind of part of the point.
Thank you very much for that presentation. And yeah, it was very impactful and it was very insightful, I think. Now, we open the floor for your questions. I can see questions being posted in our Q&A section. We shall begin with a question from Arif Ali. What are the biggest blind spots you are seeing in current compliance frameworks when it comes to cryptographic risk?
That's a good question, and I think that that at the moment they're not very explicit in regards to what encryption they actually require. So, like, for example, the TLS, like TLS 1.2, when we had to migrate to TLS 1.3, they clearly stated we're going to have to migrate to TLS 1.3. But with post-quantum cryptography, at least as of now, they are not really naming the algorithms that are to be either assessed or evaluated to be adopted. They're just saying adopt encryption algorithm, which causes a lot of people to think that they don't need to do anything now. And it's probably going to change in the upcoming 2 years. But the issue is, according to Gartner, we have until 2029. So someone starting in, say, late 2026 is a lot worse than someone starting now. Because as we mentioned, the migration is definitely going to be difficult.
Thank you very much for that. Now we move on to our next question from Yuri Miloslavsky. Which current frames work with PQE?
So at the moment, it's a very fragmented industry, so to speak. There isn't like yeah, it's kind of like it's highly individualized. Which framework do, which framework don't. You essentially, when you look into utilizing a framework, if I'm understanding your question correctly, at least, then you actually need to research into it and check if they have at the very least a guideline, like a roadmap into adopting post-quantum cryptography. Like, for example, Chrome has now included support for post-quantum cryptography, but Safari hasn't. Zoom has adopted post-quantum cryptography. Google Meet somewhat more recently. I don't think that Microsoft Meet has. When it comes to, say, technical frameworks, that gets even more complicated because there is a lot of technical difficulties with supporting the new frameworks. That's kind of part of the philosophy behind our API. Since it's so difficult to fit it into so many frameworks that now need to individually work together essentially to become to adopt support for post-quantum. If you adopt a more API-driven approach, at least for your own framework, you can add a quantum secure layer at the very least until those third-party frameworks adopt post-quantum cryptography. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. There are a few more questions that we will be addressing from the audience, and I think our time allows it. So I will show a few more of this. What certifications require post quantum cryptography? From Sumaya Isan.
So at the moment, really no certification required post-quantum cryptography, which is kind of ironic that we're calling this quantum-ready compliance. But at the moment, there are multiple certifications who are already looking into it. For example, ISO, such as ISO 27001, has already looked into standardizing a post-quantum algorithm that they will be choosing to adopt. PCI DSS is another one that is theorized in around late 2025 to enforce post-quantum cryptography. It's unclear whether they will enforce it immediately, like say by the next audit, probably not. But at the very least, they will start mentioning it. And it's only a matter of a few years at best before all industry has to migrate.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question from Ira Cacao. How can organizations begin assessing their cryptographic readiness without deep in-house cryptography expertise?
That is indeed a very difficult task. I'm not gonna deny that. Well, first of all, you can always look into hiring external consultancies or vendors that are specialized in not only implementation but actually discovery. So thankfully now there is quite an explosion of tools that help you find specifically quantum vulnerability, which, as mentioned, Exequantum is one of the first to offer the AI-powered cryptographic discovery tool. I hope that that makes sense. But there is sadly no escaping that you're going to have to use some external help. If not, at the very least, do some heavy research, because sadly there is no choice. The other choice is essentially just wait for your systems to become cryptographically outdated and broken.
I guess that's very insightful, and I hope that answered the questions. Before we move on to the next question, I would like to say that if you have anything, or if you would like to know more about Exequantum, have a demo with Sam, you can actually send us a message. You can send us a message, and then we can address or we can organize a demo of Exequantum. So now moving to the next question from Graceline Achibo. I hope I was saying that right. Achibo Awuzo. How do you ensure security of the key? Is this randomly generated?
So when people say randomly generated, technically yes, the aim is to make the key as random as possible. But the truth is that most that classical computers, non-quantum computers, cannot have a truly random key, which is why I was saying that it's important to start utilizing a quantum computer, because what the classical computers need to do is run mathematical algorithms that imitate randomness, which means that they can theoretically be broken into. And with AI tools coming into play, this threat is becoming much bigger. So with a quantum random number generator, it is as truly random as quantum physics is, which is actual randomness, which is something that I don't think really exists almost anywhere else in nature.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Grace. And moving on.
Thank you,
Yeah, moving on to our last question, and then I will show a comment or a comment made by Yuri for during this webinar. Before that, we'll answer one last question from our audience. How scalable is the Exequantum platform for global enterprise deployments? This is from Samaya Esan.
Well, the answer is that it is very scalable. We actually have we have absorbed multiple DDoS attacks without going down for even a second. Um, we have also uh, we have also deployed our API into multiple various various sizes of enterprises. Yeah, businesses, enterprises, organizations. And so far, I haven't had any issues. Latency wise, it is very small. Our algorithms run like as fast as feasible for those algorithms to run. We had no complaints about speed as of now. And however, we do have custom solutions. We actually can, for enterprises who need it, we can host the server of the API actually on the server, on the enterprise infrastructure, which means that it gets as scalable as the enterprise server itself, which is generally very good because it's right next to the client devices.
Perfect. Now, this is a message from Yuri, which is actually also exciting and touching. It's not a question, but it's great to see companies who are helping other companies to stay ahead of the trend curve. Very exciting. Indeed, it is. And thank you so much for that, Yuri. Anything that you'd like to say for this, Sam?
Well, yeah, thank you very much. Like this is a, it's generally same with you. Like I do use your admittedly do use your solution quite a bit. It's very exciting to see that in this, while the threats are growing, um, innovation and ways to counter them are also increasing. Like there are more tools than ever, more protections than ever, more innovation than ever, and it's kind of unlocking a lot of new pathways for people that they new privacy paths that they haven't that well we were worried is not going to be possible. But hopefully, as long as we continue this work, we can ensure that everyone gets the right to to privacy, the not be surveilled, and that of course secrets and critical infrastructure stay secure.
Thank you very, very much. And yeah, of course, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you, Sam. Will you be in JISEC on the upcoming JISEC on May 6 to 8 in Dubai? What are your plans? Are you planning anything exciting for our audience? Before anything else, before you answer that, I'd like to let the audience know that we are also going to be in JISEC. And yeah, what are your plans for JISEC, Sam?
Yes, so this is actually the first year that the Australian Pavilion is in JISEC, which means that there is a good amount of Australian companies coming. So I'm glad to be part of one of the Australian companies representing. Um, we are also partnered up with Cyberways and are going to be joining their booth and presenting our solutions and collaborative innovation. I'm looking forward to, of course, chatting. I've had a lot of meetings booked. Let's just say that. I feel like myself, is like me myself, I'm going to be spending more times in those meetings. But outside of that, I'm looking forward to demoing the product. We're also releasing an AI chatbot that can actually look into your you can ask it about your infrastructure and it will actually answer your questions regarding post-quantum cryptography, what you can do to migrate, and overall give advice. So, of course, demoing the product and having conversations.
It's actually very exciting. And of course, we're very excited to have you in our booth. As I was saying, we will be in Hall 3 in stand E30. Exit Quantum will be one of the partners co-exhibiting with us and sharing the space with us. We will be showcasing cutting edge solutions at this and this webinar is just a sneak peek of the innovation and the thought leadership that you can expect at the event. And yeah, although all our calendars are booked, I'm sure Sam's calendar is also booked with many meetings. You can still catch us in JISAC. You can visit us in our stage. Our team will be there. We will be there. And also to let everyone know in the audience, we are Cyberways is the podcast partner of JISAC. So you will be expecting some more insightful thoughts from Cyberways in this channel. So yeah, again, thank you all for joining us today, and thank you, Samuel, for being with us. And we'll see you all at the event. Thank you.
Thank you very much.